God, we're Film Nerds Hour. Noah's led me intro again. It's a horrible mistake. I'm Nathaniel Shoemaker.
Alright, I'm Noah Sweeto.
Welcome to, we're still in March. Yay. Doing Kaiju Month.
That is true.
And this week we are talking about the 2014 Godzilla.
Those are the facts.
Cut that intro. We're doing it again. I'm kidding.
Not going back now.
No.
But no. So I'm sure you guys know by now. If you haven't, well, I'm a little confused. You wouldn't, but we've been doing kaiju monsters now. So.
Yeah, we did Pacific Rim and Pacific Rim Uprising. So we're gonna keep that going with the newer Godzilla so far trilogy. Maybe by the time of this release, quadrilogy.
Well, I don't think they're labeling it as. I think they're labeling it as MonsterVerse officially.
I know. I don't know how to label things. So in my head, since there's three,
that's
trilogy. You know, because we're doing Godzilla from 2014, which is just called Godzilla.
Yep.
And then next week, because I guess we can just say next week we're doing Kong Skull Island, which we both appreciate, but no one else in the world does, apparently.
I don't see what was wrong with that movie.
No.
They had perfect casting,
yeah.
perfect cinematography, very great choreography and motion capture.
The story is a little meh, but it's still great.
The story wasn't there because, it is a monster movie.
Yeah. I don't want to,
I don't want to sit through a 2014, Godzilla again. Not bad-mouthing it, but there was a little too much story.
There were too much people.
It was okay, great.
Yeah, continue.
We don't need the Star Trek part before the actual monster.
We don't need Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, who are married in this movie. That's weird. We don't need to care about their relationship. You forgot about that?
Yeah.
And then last week of March, we are watching Godzilla King of Monsters. Or is it King of the Monsters?
King of the Monsters.
King of the Monsters. Oh, I'll say it like King of the Monsters. If I don't make fun of you, you won't learn. That's a destructive relationship. Yeah, and I know there's some of you listening, what about classic, 60s and 50s kaiju movies? That's next month.
Yes, and we will get to doing probably eventually all the kind of kaiju movies.
It'll take a while. It'll take a while.
Yeah, we don't want to overload you guys because, again, even me being the marathonic person that I am, really could not sit through all those Godzilla movies and not have a break.
Exactly.
I had to take a break from Game of Thrones because I need to take a break from fantasy for a while.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's the thing. You were watching Game of Thrones, and January and February, all we were doing was fantasy movies.
Yeah,
and we loved it, and we hope you guys loved it too. It's just,
and I've been reading a whole bunch of books, which I think we might do a mini episode just for recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to you about expanding the brand. I want to do a book review or book club type show thing.
I mean, I want to give a couple previews, just what I think on the Tad Williams Osenard series and The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, who actually is an African American author.
Yeah, and
does African kind of folklore and more cultural stuff from that in his fantasy book. But that is for another time.
Yeah, that's for the future.
But the 2014 Godzilla, I don't know what to say much about it. Except it's enjoyable. It. The poster speaks for itself.
Yeah,
the excitement was there, and it's by Gareth Edwards. And
yeah, and you got to give him credit for making a new monster or monsters, I guess. And B, doing it well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which was nice with the kickoff of that because of the fact of it being that it kicked off the idea of also having aliens.
Were the Mutos weren't aliens?
I thought they were.
No. Mutos were, parasites.
Oh, right. Well, they looked more like aliens, so the idea was there.
I guess.
In a way.
We really get aliens in the finale one, not the finale one, King of the Monsters.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because you wouldn't have thought that would have worked. Well, they did call it King of the Monsters originally.
Yeah.
You would have thought the original one they called King of the Monsters in the American version. That was quite interesting to see how they called it that, because it sounds more like an Endgame type of thing.
Yeah.
So I was kind of interested in that. One thing I also kind of wanted to know, just on a side note, is that when we do get to the King of the Monsters series, movie, 2019's Godzilla is significantly bigger in size than 2014's.
The boy grew.
Yes. And that's one thing that they said about Kong. He
grows as well.
He's not done growing. He's still growing.
Yep.
So I like the idea of them kind of having that.
Mm-hmm.
But it also makes you wonder, like, I think it shows, like, just their adult growth.
Well, yeah, and, well, one thing I wanted to mention was, I don't know if you've checked them out, but they have a trilogy of animated Godzilla movies on Netflix.
That was actually the next thing I was going to bring up.
Yeah, because in that one, it's so fascinating to me because they leave Earth, right? Because of Godzilla and, like, he's a threat and all this stuff. But when they come back, because they expected, like, oh, he'll just die or whatever. When they come back, he's so massive that the entire ecosystem of the planet runs off of Godzilla. That's how big he is.
I did see that, because he's supposed to be... Isn't he supposed to be like 500 feet tall in that one?
He's huge. He's bigger than he's been in any film.
And I thought that was supposed to be the tie-on version of 2014, but then I learned that they were going to just do their own trilogy.
Yeah, and they did their own animated trilogy.
And I have not gotten around...
It's worth it.
To it.
I enjoyed it.
I think it's just the animation style, because for those of you who don't know, it really does make me dizzy and hurts my eyes. I don't...
3D animation is something to adjust to, I will say. But it's not it's not any less of an art form. You know what I mean? It's still amazing looking. It's just, it's an amazing... We're not necessarily used to yet, Yeah. Give it time.
Well, it's because also, like, the Adventures of Iron Man or whatever...
Oh, yeah. I remember that, because he had that 3D modeling animation for when he would put his armor on in, like, 89, that show.
It was the Adventures of...
the 2002 one when he's, like, a teenager.
Iron Man Armored Adventures, yeah.
Yeah. Or not 2002, like 2010 or something.
2008.
Oh, okay. I was close.
And its final one was in 2012, 2 seasons.
Okay.
26 episodes in total, it looks like.
Yeah.
Or no.
Per season, 26 episodes.
Yeah, per season for the 2. So, whatever that is in numbers, I'm not going to do.
I mean, it's on Disney Plus. So.
Netflix, actually. And Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, without further ado, we want to get in the movie?
Yeah.
Where can people watch it if they want to watch it now?
All right, let me pull that up again real quick.
Yeah, you do that. I'm going to grab a thing so I can, like, do research stuff, too. Sorry if we're unprepared, but we kind of slack. You guys know.
Right now, since you aren't on my Vudu, you guys can watch it free with cable TV on TNT. You can watch it with a premium subscription to Hulu and Sling TV, YouTube TV with a subscription, or you can rent it from $3.99 on Google Play, YouTube, Vudu, Amazon Prime.
Yep. This is the 2014 Godzilla.
With Bryan Cranston also as well, which is awesome.
Yes. He ties into one complaint, like one of the few complaints I have about this movie, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's a pretty heavy cast. We got Bryan Cranston, Ken Watanabe, Sally Hawkins. I friggin' love her. She was amazing in Shape of Water.
Which I have yet to see.
Great movie.
But I am excited to see it. It did capture my interest.
Mm-hmm. David Strathairn? Sure. And we got Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, or most people would know Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, which it's weird because they're married, so sure.
When did Age of Ultron come out?
Before this.
I thought it was 2015.
Was it? I thought it was 2012.
The Avengers did. Age of Ultron came out 2015.
Oh yeah, let's see. Age of Ultron.
2015.
Yeah, 2015. Okay.
So it was before that. That's still gotta be
I think
weird, though.
no, I think you know what? I think the reason it weirded me out so bad is because the trailers for Age of Ultron came out before the Godzilla movie did.
That's fair.
So I saw Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who I know are siblings, and then I see them in this, married and
it's like
smooching. And I'm like, okay, well, Other than that, no one like super notable. It's a lot of like side characters who are one-off characters who are no longer in the series like after this point, but good cast, good strong cast.
It did have a very strong cast. A bit too much dialogue, but
yeah, I can see that. But yeah, for any of you who would like to watch it, it's the Godzilla 2014. We have to specify what you have to look up to watch them, because there's like over 60 Godzilla movies, I guess.
There's quite a few.
It's an insane amount.
And that's not including the rebooted version with Shin Godzilla, which I believe is going to be getting more.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because it was just experimental, but now they're kind of like, oh, okay, let's see what we can do.
It was a lot of, because Shin Godzilla, that was also like a commentary, like the first one. Because the first original Godzilla was a commentary on like nuclear war. And then it turned into this thing. Whereas Shin Godzilla, that was kind of a commentary on like environmental awareness and stuff like that, and pollution,
Yeah, and it was supposed to be a horror film too, by showing the horrors of that effect.
Yeah, you've said to me countless times, one thing you love from Shin Godzilla is when he has the fire breath and then it like shrinks and turns into just to a beam, and it's just like whoosh whoosh, and destroying everything.
But it's the sound effects too, like
it's like
just like how he regenerates. Like yeah, it's if we do a video of this, we could probably put a minor clip in there.
Yeah,
but oh my god, it's just so awesome because of too. Not to mention with the Shin Godzilla thing, the other cool part about it is how I want to say I really love the fact how like his bottom jaw splits into two halves.
Yeah, it's kind of like mandibles.
Yeah, it's like that much creepier, but they're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just want to listen to that clip because I just love that. That was
You're welcome. You're welcome. So apparently, and by the way, also something that you guys will find when you Google 2014 Godzilla, it does list his height,
which is pretty damn tall.
355 feet tall ain't nothing to sneeze at. It's a big boy. It's a healthy, growing boy.
And I think, he's even bigger in 2019.
He is. But so without further ado, we're gonna go through the whole plot beat by beat, give our opinions on it and what we think. So if you guys want to go ahead, pause this right now, watch the movie for yourself, because we both give it high praise, of course.
Yeah,
great movie. Or if you just don't care, stick around, or if you've seen it before. And yeah, let's get going. So we start off, and there's been like we start off with the mine, right? Like the mine collapse.
Yes.
Well, the opening. Let's talk about the opening credits for a second, because the opening credits do show us our first glimpse of Godzilla.
Yeah, which is really cool the way they do it.
He's swimming around, and like we see like Bikini and like all the places where they tested nuclear facilities, like World War II places, and we see him swimming, and we see like the nuke bombs have like his face on it with an X through it. So it gives you a tonal suggestion of like, oh, that was the project. Like, they weren't testing nukes. They were going to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you just see, like, still images in film of just, like, his spine, like, his, like, jagged back just, like, coming out of the water for a second. And it looks really great.
That is one of the things to note. Like, I obviously, if you watched Pacific Rim first, it's really hard to top that.
Yeah.
But the special effects for these monster movies are still
it's fantastic. They don't cheap out. They do not cheap out whatsoever.
No, they really did well.
But the next thing we see is, like, I think it's in South America, like a mine collapse, something like that. And there's these, like, cocoon things, and one of them hatches, and they're like they're near, like, they're attached to like a giant skeleton, which they think is Godzilla, but it's not. It's probably like a distant relative. But go ahead.
No, I'm still listening.
But then one of the cocoons things hatch, and then we cut to Bryan Cranston's character, who he runs a nuclear power plant in Japan. And
Walter White's moving up these days.
He really is. You know, he went from selling the crystal meth to, responsible power.
Which,
you know,
is good. Good for Walter White.
I guess. He's got a legal job. Well, not after today. But, spoiler, but, you know. But it's his birthday. His son made him a sign, but he didn't notice. He didn't even know it was his birthday. So you get the vibe that he's a very wrapped in his job kind of fellow. You know?
Which, I mean, if you're running a nuclear plant, it's very understandable.
Yeah. You're in charge of power for an entire region, and if you screw up, people could die. So yeah,
like on a catastrophic level, not a.
We've all Googled Chernobyl.
Yeah.
But him and his wife, they both go to the nuclear facility, and he's been tracking these seismic like movements, and he's noticed that they're not like natural seismic shifts. Like there's a pattern. So his wife goes down because she is like she's crazy smart. She has something to do with the nuclear like plants. Like she knows of it, or like the science behind it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But so while she's down there with a bunch of people, there's more earthquakes and there's a rupture and there's like a leak in the system. So she and a bunch of people are running from this nuclear waste gas in like suits, which are too thin, like even she'll die suit or no suit, like how much radiation is in there.
And it's almost probably more of a painful death just to be slow baking in that suit.
Exactly. So it's a whole very like intense scene of running of like, are they gonna make it? Are they gonna make it? And Bryan Cranston, his character, he's just at the door and he has it manual, so he'll push the button and it'll close. And it's kind of just, he's waiting, he's hearing her, and he's like, run, honey, please, run as fast as you can. Run for our son, which I was like, oh, God. Like, this is going to be hard to watch. Because he sees, like, the smoke, the gas.
Coming down the hallway.
Yeah, coming real quick. And he's, like, looking at it, and he, like, does that classic Bryan Cranston cry scream of, like, ah! And he, like, hits the button just as it's about to hit. And it closes. And then, literally a second later, you see them all at the window of it. And she, like, looks through the window. She takes her helmet off, and she's like, I love you. And I'm like, oh! No.
Which is really, really hard to watch.
It's really sad. It's such, like, a tone to start this movie out with, because it just makes you immediately feel... Because Bryan Cranston brings it, because he's incredible, and, like, all this stuff.
Really funny how they were like, really? The dad from Malcolm in the Middle should play Walter White?
Yeah.
He can have a range?
Exactly. He can. He totally can. He's an amazing actor. But then we cut to his son who's in school. He sees the nuclear plant collapse. Like, he sees the actual silos coming down. And, like, the power goes out. And it's just all this stuff. And then it cuts to 15 years later, which would be, like, 2014. So, it happened in 1999?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, he's coming back. He was deployed... We don't know for how long, but he's coming back from being deployed. In, I think, like, Iraq, Afghanistan, something. Wherever we were at that time. I don't know. That's likely, correct?
Yeah, I don't think until after 9/11, though, it was more...
Well, it was still, like, 2014, we were still, like...
Yeah.
We still had people... Anyway. He comes back home, and his wife, played by Elizabeth Olsen... She's a nurse, and they have a son, and you get the sense of like, oh, they are they're a tight knit family, like they care about each other and all this stuff. And he's like tickling a son. It's it's sweet. It's very nice. And then he gets a call that his dad, who still lives in Japan, has been arrested because he was trespassing in the quarantine zone, which is where they were, like that area of that area of the plant. So she's like, you should go down there, and he's like, no, I don't want to like do anything to hurt my family, and she's like, he's your family, like, you know, and she makes like a good point of like, you know, it's still your dad, and yeah, he's crazy now, but like you would be too if that happened to you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so he flies to Japan, bails his dad out, and then he goes to his dad's apartment, and there's just newspaper clippings all over the wall, on the door, everywhere, and he's kind of just like, oh, he's really far gone, you know, and he's got like all these books everywhere of like echolocation stuff and like earthquake seismic activity, just like. He's obsessed with this. He's obsessed with figuring it out because he's convinced it could have been prevented and it wasn't like a natural disaster. He's convinced of that.
Which both plays in the favor and a little bit against it because it is the cliche, but I feel like it was done better.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's just I'm obsessed. This actually had like a lot of research.
There was a reason. I
feel like there's always research, but it's not nearly like the kind of research. It feels like it's just everything's strewn about.
Exactly. Well, and like you would feel that guilty because he's the one who closed the door. You know what I mean?
Survivor's guilt.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I'm sure there's a part of him who thinks he killed his wife. You know?
Yeah. But everybody, you know. It's kind of hard to tell yourself that, you know, I could have weighed about how many more people would have died and what was the possibility that she'd still live anyway.
But he's like... But his son is like telling him, he's like, no, I'm very close. I just need to get back there. And he goes, why were you over there in the quarantine zone anyway? He goes, I was trying to get to our old house. I have discs of the readings. I need to study this. And he's like, you need to stop, okay? I want you to come home with me so you can meet my wife and meet your grandson. And he like calms down. He's like, fine, okay. But then they wake up the next morning and he's scheduled like an illegal boat trip for them to go to the quarantine zone. And he's like, dude, we just talked about this. Yeah.
To which he's kind of like,
yeah, that's nice.
Great.
We're going. What?
We can go after we're done here.
Well, yeah, he's like, yeah, he's still like, we'll still go. It's just, I need to finish this. And like any good son, he's like, fine, but I'm going with you.
And there's not really a way to say no to that.
No.
It's like, when you got somebody who's got survivor's guilt, it's really hard to tell them.
Oh, yeah, because he knows, deep down he knows, even if he gets him to America, he's going to do everything he can to try and get back.
Yeah, so there really is no negotiating there.
None whatsoever. None. But so they end up, like, they get some hazmat suits, and they're, like, on the river, and they, like, go to, like, the main city, and whoever did the set design, fantastic job, because it actually looks like a ruined, abandoned city. Like, there's vines and, like, shops that are, like, the signs are half on, half off. There's broken down cars freaking everywhere.
Which is not something you really get. A lot of the time it's just crumbly buildings, and it's like, okay, great, but let's actually do something more with that.
Yeah, let's make it seem like it's been abandoned for 15 years.
I mean, it doesn't even take that much if you consider the fact that you can make it in a way that's like,
yeah,
you know, miniatures.
Exactly. But then he sees some dogs that are running by them, like a pack of dogs that just run by them, barking fine. And then he looks up and he sees some birds flying over. And then he pulls out like a Geiger counter, and there's nothing, and he goes, I knew it. And he starts to take off his mask, and his son's like, what are you doing? He goes, the air's clean. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's like, what? And he's like, it should have been irradiated for at least 30 more years after this.
And to
at
which
least. Like, it should be killing me instantly, but it's not.
Which I think really says something.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that really speaks to the whole, it's definitely a cover-up. Like,
yeah.
But they get to the house, they get the discs, which by discs he means floppy.
Yeah.
I liked that. That was a nice touch. Because even in 1999, not many people had, like, CDs. Like, floppy was still very much the, you know.
Yeah, floppy was still a lot of what people operated off of.
Because CDs was like a luxury at that point.
Well,
which is crazy to think about.
Well, I mean, look at Everybody Loves Raymond. That was the thing when he's talking about getting a DVD player.
Yeah.
And his wife is like, "What? DVD player?"
Yeah. Or like in Wedding Singer, where he's like, "I got a CD player," and she's like, "Oh, you want to play a record?" It's like, no, like
I want to play a CD.
Yeah. And like nowadays, like I feel like that's lost on this generation we have now, because it's like, why wouldn't you just look it up online? Like the internet didn't exist. You know what I mean?
Didn't really exist, and
even if it did exist, it was slow as shit.
That's why we even when I was still in middle school, we didn't really have anything.
It would take you on the internet way back when, during the early days, it would take you 3 days to download a 2-minute video.
See, now the closest I can relate to that is when me and my dad were in our living situation, and we had to take Wi-Fi from the neighbor's house, and it could barely reach it, and sometimes it'd be there, sometimes it would be out.
Yeah.
And it was on a laptop.
It's like in that scene in Parasite, where they're sitting on their elevated toilet, reaching their phone to the ceiling.
Yeah, now imagine that, but doing it with a computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't know why I'm physically acting this out. There's no camera.
Not yet.
Yeah, you should. But they end up... What is it? They end up getting the discs from the old house, and then when they get out, they're just surrounded immediately by feds. Just instantly. And then they're both taken into separate rooms, interrogated, and they're in the facility. The nuclear facility.
Virginia.
Yeah, and Bryan Cranston's getting interrogated, and he's like, "No, you don't know what you're talking about." And he's like saying, the seismic waves that were released, they were consistent with that of an EMP. It knocked out all the power. It wasn't the nuclear waste. It was this. This did it. Whatever is hiding there, it wasn't natural. It wasn't an earthquake. It wasn't a typhoon. It's going to send us back to the Stone Age. And we see later on in the movie, he is right. Like, these things are terrifying. Did I spit? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
I was just going to say, it does show, like, maybe...
Maybe listen to the crazy guy every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, when you get something that's literally taller than the Empire State or Statue of Liberty, that kind of puts in this perspective into perspective of, yeah, maybe we should listen.
Yeah, because we find out that the whatever creature came there is like, it's cocooned itself, and you see randomly like power going out, but then like the waves increase, and it's to the level that is projected on its discs.
Yep. And
then it breaks out of its cocoon, and we see it is what we find out to be known as a muto, which is massive, unidentified terrestrial organism.
I believe
monstrous,
so.
Unidentified. Yeah. Which are brand new monsters. Haven't been in any like Toho film or anything before that. And like this thing is huge. The second its foot hits the ground, just huge EMP surge, and just all power's cut out like instantly.
Yeah.
Which is a great like thing to make the audience feel threat, because think about you at home. Think for 5 seconds about what you use every day that involves electricity.
And I bet you can't. And I bet you can't find something that doesn't involve...
No, I bet you can. Things you do use every day.
Yeah, what you would do without those? I don't think I think people would be lost.
That wasn't what I posed. I posed, what do you use? Think just for 5 seconds of all the things you use that requires electricity. And now imagine you don't have that.
People would be lost.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this generation especially. I have to read a book. No, I'm kidding.
And it wouldn't be just my generation. That's the best part. It would be like a whole bunch of generations who've got accustomed.
The boomers would be fine. The boomers would be fine.
The ones who are really old? Yeah.
Well, we'll just boil everything like we used to.
But everybody else that's not probably a great-grandparent in a later part of life would have a lot of issues adjusting to.
Well,
maybe not as much, but
also think about like what else uses electricity now that didn't back then. Like what, like 30% of cars? Like
a lot of your heating and stuff comes from a lot more electricity. So I mean, it's not.
I mean, getting water to your house requires electricity. Yeah. Like pretty much everything. So if it's just gone, like life comes to be exponentially more difficult.
Which I think is one of the best parts that people don't really think about.
The only reason why you will still have running water for a certain amount of time if the power goes out is because gravity, essentially.
We'll keep pushing it through.
Yeah, because the water, like, usually places where you get clean water, like, you know, water towers and stuff like that, it's on an elevated situation. So, like, gravity will still push a certain amount. But, like, at a point, you're going to stop getting water. That's why they always say, if the power goes out, fill your bathtub.
Yeah, which...
I ain't drinking bathtub water. No.
I'll drink bottled water, and if that doesn't work...
I'll drink bathtub water under the guise that it's put in a pot and boiled first.
I still wouldn't. That's like saying, oh yeah, take it from the toilet.
Put it through a Brita, and then boil it. How about that?
We don't want to say what I would do if I was desperate enough.
You'd die. No,
I'll drink my own fluids before I think I let myself drink toilet water or bath water.
Dude, we don't have enough time. Like, we don't have enough time to get into this.
No.
If we weren't doing a show, I'd spend an hour and a half talking to you about this and our little debate. But that's another episode. We got to talk about Godzilla.
Yes.
We haven't even gotten to Godzilla showing up yet, really. But it breaks out of its cocoon. It's like got these... It's like all white. Like, it looks like... It kind of looks like a pale lizard, you know? And they do eventually say that it is a parasite, which, yeah, it's a parasite, 100%. But it's got, like, these long, spindly legs, and it has wings as well. It can fly.
Which is a really big step up.
Mm-hmm.
With the way they introduced this monster was actually pretty well. It wasn't...
Because it didn't feel like too much or too little.
Yeah.
It all made sense.
And it felt very proper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so, like, it's causing all this destruction. A lot of people, like, get hurt, and Bryan Cranston's character, what is his character's name? Because his son is just referred to as Ford.
Lieutenant Ford, yeah.
Yeah, because I think... But that's his last name.
Yeah. Cranston's character is Joe...
Ford.
No, Joe... what? It does not show me. Okay,
it's just Joe.
Well,
Single name, Joe.
It has his last name, but it doesn't show it up. It just cuts it off on the phone. Mm-hmm. Joe Brody.
Brody.
So I believe it's Ford Brody.
They named him after whatever.
But every time I think of Brody, I just think of Sheriff Brody. So
yeah. So Joe, he's trying to help people, but he's on the scaffolding thing that collapses, and then Ford he gets knocked unconscious when the thing is attacking, and he's trying to find his dad. And then, like, in the aftermath of the wreckage, they're trying to track the thing. They're gonna go to a boat, aircraft carrier, and Dr. Serizawa, who's played by Ken Watanabe, him and who's the other doctor played by Haley Atwell. What's her name?
Haley Atwell. Let me check. Pulling it up.
Sorry about this, guys. My fault. I should have memorized the names earlier.
What was her name?
The other doctor. Or did I say Haley Atwell?
Yeah.
That might actually be her name.
Yeah, because I don't see no Haley Atwell listed.
No,
So there's Sandra Brody, Vivian Graham.
No, it's Sally Hawkins. Sorry.
Sally Hawkins.
Who does she play? How did I get Haley Atwell? Who the heck is Haley Atwell?
That's what I was about to say. What?
Let me look
It's
that up.
Vivian Graham.
Vivian, Dr. Vivian. Or Dr. Graham. Yeah. Because that's all anyone calls her.
Which, why do they have two different names? That is weird. that they named Joe Brody and then Vivian Graham.
Oh, Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter. That's why, because I was watching Agent Carter the other night. Okay, that's why her name's still in my brain. I'm sorry, folks. I just needed to find out the origin of my thoughts. Anyway.
Never mind. No, I'm sorry. I looked up the Godzilla 2014, and it showed... it was showing Ford, and then said his height was 355 feet.
No, that's Godzilla.
And I was like, what? A man as tall as Zilla, okay.
But no, so Dr. Serizawa and Dr. Graham, they're going to get taken, and they decide to bring Joe and Ford with them. But here's the thing, here's the first thing of a few things that I see. I watch this movie and I'm just like, what?
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, here comes the deep water. Let's do it.
No pun intended.
No, so here's the thing. Before they get him on the helicopter, he's getting loaded into an ambulance. His head is in a neck brace, and he's in a thing that is to restrain him from moving his body.
Straight jacket?
No. It's like one of those,
straps.
carrying like gurney things that you strap someone into so they don't fall out.
Oh, yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
So he's in one of those. And then they decide to put him on a helicopter. And mid-helicopter ride, he tells his son he loves him and dies. On the helicopter. To which I'm like, what? Like, like clearly he's severely injured. Maybe, I don't know, send him to a hospital and then get him? Or have him telecommunicate? Like...
Yeah, something
like,
that...
Why are you just straight bringing him to the ship if you know you don't have, like, the medical facilities or that his body possibly could not take a helicopter ride? Part of me feels like it would have been... Because later on, when they're on the ship, you do see somebody putting him in a body bag and his son sitting over it. And I'm just like... You could have just had him fall, because how he falls, his son sees it from a distance and is like, Dad! You could have just had, if you were going to kill him, you could have just had him getting put in the body bag while they were still there, and then Serizawa was like, you, come with us. Like,
it could have been just, like, anything else.
Because he eventually asks him, what does your father know? Like, so... And again, I get the idea of having his character have, like, a final moment with his son and all that, and, like, saying all that stuff, but it's like... You know what I mean? Like, it just feels weird having him die on a helicopter.
Yeah, it was very out of place.
Mm-hmm. But... So then they start talking about, like... They're like, is there anything about your father's research that we should know about? And he mentions the echolocation. And they find out that the, like, readings they've been getting, it's been communicating with something. And then they see... Then they hear... Is it the boat starts shaking?
I believe so, yeah.
And we look out the window and we see Godzilla. And this is after he's already gotten the explanation of who and what Godzilla is. What their corporation Monarch is and what they do. And then we finally see Godzilla. And Serizawa realizes immediately what's actually happening, which is... Because all the military people are like, oh no, we gotta kill two monsters. And it's like, no, Godzilla... He's a predator. He's like an alpha male, you know? And if he feels something that is in, like, the way of his, like...
path.
His dominance.
He's going
to hunt.
Destroy it.
You know?
Yeah.
And he sees them as a threat. And we do find out later there's probably a part of it that isn't just, like, territorial threat. I feel like there's a part of him that genuinely wants to help people. Because I feel like he knows that they're better, you know?
He wants to protect other beings, but at the same time...
It's the Earth as well.
It's his job to protect the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Because without the Earth, you know...
He's kind of screwed.
And it's kind of like... I feel like it's his duty because he is the biggest of them all.
Yeah. We'll find out later. He's the king of the monsters. So...
natural order.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Natural order.
There's natural order of things. But so then they're like, do you have anything else, any other information to give us? No. And he's like, all right, well, our ship's pretty close to Hawaii. We'll fly you there, and then from there you can get a plane ride home to San Francisco. Simple, right? Wrong.
Very wrong.
Because he's on he gets to Hawaii, and then while he's on the tram, like, a family forgets their kid. So he's like, don't worry, I'll stay with the kid, and I'll ride him back. And then he goes, we'll ride back, and we'll meet up with you. And he's like, you better not make me lose my flight, kid. And then we see, like, a giant explosion on the island. And we find out it's because they're, like, looking for a nuclear sub. And because the Muto feeds off of nuclear waste, it's eating nukes. just swallowing them. To which I'm like, what? And it kills, like, just a bunch of soldiers. Imagine people with guns fighting a massive monster.
Made of nuclear energy.
How well do you people think it's gonna go? Exactly.
It's kind of like shooting at bulletproof glass and going, oh, it's gonna work! It's gonna work! I see it cracking a little bit. No.
Like, imagine if a dude with his fists wanted to fight the Cloverfield monster. It's not gonna turn out well.
It's gonna be annoying.
Yeah.
And even when you do find a little patch
this is a mild inconvenience. Smack.
And the last thing you want to do being at that height is to literally hit a spot that causes it pain, and then it goes, oh, now I'm really gonna fuck you.
Yeah. And it's like, it's smacking them around, it's eating them. And then, like, people are seeing that, and power goes out, of course, because he just emits an EMP wherever he goes. And then they see the tide coming in, so they're like, tsunami! Nope, it's Godzilla making landfall. And it's just, you see, like, his feet, you see his scales, you see his tail, but you never, like, we haven't actually gotten a shot of his face yet. And we do get the shot of it when the Muto, the monster, he, like, flies to the airport and starts blowing up everything. Ford and the kid almost get killed. And people are like, oh my gosh, this is insane. It's all the explosions. And then they just see a foot. And I love that part because it's like people panicking, screaming because there's planes blowing up. And they just see a foot and everyone shuts the frick up.
Because they're all just
like, oh. And then it pans up and you see him, and we see his, like, gnarly face of just, he's pissed. And the Muto sees him and, like, does a little, like, rawr thing, but then he just, like, just, like, screams, like, I'm pretty sure he breaks windows with his, like, roar. Like, it's so awesome. But I'm bummed out we don't actually really get to see the fight, because it comedically cuts to, like, news footage while the kid's watching it on TV, you know?
Yeah.
Because I remember watching it in theaters, everybody laughed when that happened, but it was you could tell it was we wanted to see something.
A little more.
We wanted to see something better, you know? But then Ford, like, because he's still trying to call his wife, because he told her, don't worry, I'm going to catch a flight home from Hawaii, because she was worried because she heard there was a massive earthquake in Japan where he was. So now what do you think she's thinking? Like, she's like, if my husband wasn't dead before, he's dead for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think, oh, we can come back from that.
But Ford does. There are at least 7 times in this movie where he definitely should have died. And he freaking doesn't, man. Like,
it's like plot of me, and he just came in and was like,
plot armor.
Yeah. And it was just like, yes, but no.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you know.
But
sorry about that. Yeah. Technical difficulties, you guys know.
Yeah, there probably was a little kind of cut transition to
yeah, hopefully, yeah, I don't imagine it was too bad. But if bad at all, really. But yeah, so after the fight in Hawaii, you know, he finds that, so the Muto, he's flying away, like retreating, because remember, he can fly, so that's the one thing he has over Godzilla, is the ability to fly. So traversal is maybe a little easier, whereas Godzilla, the fastest he'll move is when he's in the water.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, Godzilla he's never really been known to let flying enemies, you know, get in his way. He's more or less always kind of been like,
all right, That's a thing.
I got atomic breath.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do about it?
Exactly. So it ends up that he ends up getting the kid back to his parents, and then catching up with the army, the army force that's there, and apparently what their plan is, because he goes back to the no, he doesn't go back to the ship, that's right. The plan that they've come up with is they're going to use, because so they find out that I'm sorry, I'm missing some stuff. They find out that the military is tracking them. That's all they're doing currently. They're just tracking the monsters. So he kind of joins up with them. But the signal that the Muto's sending out, there's another signal that's identical to it, but it's not from Godzilla. So they're like, wait, there was another cocoon, but it was dormant, we thought. And they apparently stored it in Nevada, so they're having some guys check to make sure it's, because the other Muto's head in that direction, so they're thinking it's meeting up with whatever that thing is. And here's another issue I have with this movie. I ranted to you about this, and you agree. Oh my gosh, get ready for some ungratefulness, folks. Here we go. Because they're looking through these facilities, they're opening these little sliding windows so you can see what's in them, and it's just nuclear waste stuff in the Nevada desert. And then they open one and sunlight comes out of it. And they look out of it, and it just pans out to a giant freaking hole in this facility. And then they look in the distance, and they see a Muto, 3 times the size of the other one, but with no wings. So they discern that that's actually the female of the species. And the reason it was dormant, but the other one was, was it was waiting for the male to mature.
Yeah.
As you do, I guess.
It's always funny by nature how the woman's always bigger.
Yeah. They need to give birth. So, makes sense to me.
Fair.
Yeah. But it starts marching towards Las Vegas, to which I'm like, no, the gamblers. But here's the thing.
Sin City.
Yeah, exactly. A, how did you not freaking hear it break out of this massive facility? And B, how did you not see it already? It's giant. It's a giant monster.
It's kind of like...
How the fucking hell did you miss that?
It's kind of like at the end where it's like, oh, Godzilla destroyed half the city? What?
Yeah, what? Where have you been? You deaf? What's going on? And it destroys Las Vegas as well, to its credit. Question mark.
I mean, at least there's hardly any gamblers. I think that was about as funny of the joke as American Dad when the rapture happens and you see one single soul rise out of Vegas.
Exactly.
I'm a virgin.
Yep. There it is. No, so... Then all the monsters, they're gonna converge at San Francisco. They find out that that's the point where they're gonna converge. So the plan is they're gonna have a nuke on a timer, and they're gonna kill all 3 of them. Even though Godzilla is not a threat, the only reason he destroyed cities is because humans don't look out for ants when they walk. You know what I mean? We don't. We walk on grass. We don't think. There could be an ecosystem underneath it.
And even if we do, we're still we want to get to our destination.
Exactly. He's more focused about saving more people by killing this thing.
What is it they say in Star Trek? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the
few or the one.
That's pretty much Godzilla's mentality. Sorry that I stepped on you, but get the fuck over it.
One person dies forever. No, so they're we're gonna kill him, but it's it's someone points out very poignantly, it's nuclear. We tried that already. They use that as a food source, and they're like, yeah, but this bomb's way bigger. The other ones are gonna seem like a firecracker. The other ones seem like a firecracker to it, and it's great. You're giving them more food.
It's again, great.
Yeah.
So you should put 2 and 2 together that I don't know. Maybe taking a nuke that makes other ones look like a firecracker is feeding the beast tenfold.
If you're trying to feed me pizza and you find out feeding me pizza doesn't kill me, you don't just make a bigger pizza.
It's not,
I'm still gonna eat the pizza.
It doesn't make me have a heart attack instantly. If anything, it makes me go, "Oh, you gave me a large pizza,
We can last for weeks, Leo."
And now you're gonna give me an extra large pan pizza that takes up the table? Oh God, it's gonna kill me. That's so terrible.
It's like, I could buy one large pizza for $14 or get 10 for a nickel. It doesn't make sense. Because again, he hasn't been intentionally hurting anyone. I guess the typhoon or tsunami or whatever that he did, it would be a tsunami. The tsunami he caused in Hawaii did kill a bunch of people, but it's like he's swimming with you guys. Like, you are sailing right next to him, and he's not just outright attacking you.
That's one of the things I've always wanted that I wish they put in movies, too, because it's not even a plot stint.
No.
It's really just annoying. Like, okay, we get it. We don't like you. But even the basic humans that are idiots in the government or wherever else still have the common knowledge to go,
yeah,
oh, this thing is 355 feet long and big.
Tall.
So, if it really wanted to...
It could kill us without thinking
kill
about
us out. There is no, but if we do, no, there is no. There's nothing. If it wants to kill you, it is going to kill you. That is the end of the story. It's kind of like if you were to fight a tiger and then it grabs you by the jugular.
Exactly.
There is no debate. There is no outcome where you escape that if it's ripping open your throat.
Exactly.
There's no outcome where you survive.
But they figure out that they have to retrofit this bomb to because it has to be analog, because the Mutos shut down all power, so they have to retrofit it with a timer, which Ford knows. Well, his name is Brody. He knows how to do, because he spent his time in the war defusing bombs, so it's just the opposite of that. So
let's induce a bomb, which sounds bad. I take that back. Well, let's revoke this statement.
Yep. We just edit that out. Point click. Sorry for that. We're back. No. No. So we get a hilarious scene. I know it's tragic because people die, but it's hilarious to me. Because they're on a train, and they're like they're transporting the bomb. And as they're doing that, there's an explosion on this train track, like in the distance. And one guy walkie's like, "Echo team," or whatever he says. He goes, "Is your end of the track clear? Over." And all you hear on the other end of the walkie-talkie is like gunshot, gunshot, gunshot. People screaming in the background. I swear I heard one guy go, "Oh God, we're all gonna fucking die." Like, just terror. And then he goes, "I say again, is your end of the bridge clear? Over." And I'm like, I'm not in the military, but I think that's a no. Yeah. Like, I think you were bad at Blue's Clues as a kid. Like, it freaking isn't, man.
Again, but this is the same person who probably was like, how did the Muto get out of here?
Whoa! How did he get out
There's
of
a hole!
Yeah.
Congratulations, Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no shit.
Greatest detective, my ass. No. So they're like, we're going to have to scout ahead before we move it any further.
I'm sorry, I just want to make this comment. Mm-hmm. How did these guys end up fighting Godzilla, and why are they still on the team? Okay, like, you're dealing with a kaiju.
Is it here? Over. But is it clear?
Because, I love this movie, don't get me wrong, but let's make a quick list. Okay. First thing that's wrong.
Yeah.
You don't notice that the monsters have escaped.
Yeah.
You have the government who's supposed to cover the shit up so we don't have to know about it.
Check the facility. Well, there's a giant hole, but let's check the rooms first.
Which is one of the lines in Kong Skull Island from Samuel Jackson's character. The people should even know this thing exists.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're sitting there like, oh, the one job we had to monitor this thing, and we didn't know. It's like the toddler who is crawling around or like being in a horror game, and all of a sudden you just slap a bunch of dishes down and are like, "Duh, phooey."
Yeah.
And the most reaction.
And the monster hears you, and you're like, "What?"
And the monster just goes,
"Really?"
And then you walk away, and then the monster turns around, like, "Huh, what was that? What?
I love.
Where'd he go?"
Stupid AI in video games will never not be funny.
Like in Watch Dogs, especially. But
Watch Dogs, the Alien Colonial Marines game. Stupidest AI I've ever seen in my life.
That whole game was just...
They literally walk up to you, stare at you, and then walk away.
If I stand still like Drax, I turn invisible.
Seriously.
But no, it's like, okay, you had one job to protect the people and monitor if it was going to escape or not, even if you couldn't contain it.
Yeah.
So you could at least warn people. You couldn't do that.
Well, also,
then you have the bright idea of, oh, let's pump this thing that's powered by nuclear energy full of tenfold nuclear energy. Wow. Okay, this is not a power core. It's a living being.
Of nuclear.
The amount of nuclear energy that is probably possessed over the time it was created, and that's how the lizard formed in the first place.
Exactly.
Is going to power it more. It's not going to overload it. It is not a machine with a primary set scale that can not exceed.
Exactly.
As shown in King of Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get that train scene where it's like,
the train's on fire, and they're like, we gotta go.
It's like, are you just a dumbass? And like, I feel legitimately bad in this universe for the government, for like the people who are under this government that elect idiots.
Yeah. Well, the scariest part of that scene is when they're lying down on the track being quiet because the female Muto's crawling over them, and you see her egg sac, and I'm like,
do we shoot at it?
Yeah, do we not? Like, what's going? But then the on-fire tray comes, and they start running, and the one other person we've known this whole time just gets yeeted out of there. And Ford somehow survives. He, like, lands in a lake and gets washed ashore.
I will have to say, because I gotta see who wrote the script for this.
Because there's some flaws.
I'm not gonna badmouth Gareth Edwards because he gave us Rogue One. That is one of the few good movies, in my opinion, to come out of any of the Disney content of movies so far.
You're not including the kids' movies in that count, obviously.
No.
Mulan, Aladdin, all fantastic.
I said Star Wars movies to come out.
You said Disney movies.
Disney Star Wars.
No, you said Disney movies to come out thus far.
Oh,
so it made it seem like all Disney movies.
No, out of the Disney movies.
Disney Star Wars movies.
Disney Star Wars movies. My opinion is that Rogue One is probably one of the few that was...
It's my favorite. It's my favorite.
Solo could have been better if it was not focused on Solo.
Oh, it was fun. Yeah.
I feel like they could have done so much more if it wasn't
Paul
focused
Bettany's character was weird, but we're not talking about that movie today.
No, but okay, why doesn't it say who wrote the screenplay?
Maybe they didn't want anyone to know.
Story by David Callahan.
What has he done?
David Callahan. I think I had a principal named Callahan.
If it's the same guy.
No, it was Mike Callahan. He did The Expendables, Wonder Woman 1984,
Whoa.
Zombieland Double Tap.
Double Tap, yeah.
They tapped him, not to be punny, for Shang-Chi, the Legend of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
Of the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
Doom Into the Spider-Verse Part 2 is what he's doing. He did The Expendables 2, 3, Telltale, Horseman. He's doing the new Mortal Kombat.
Cool.
And a movie called Henchmen, the All Leong story.
Okay. So he's done some stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and it looks like he's of Asian descent as well.
Okay. Anyways, back to the film. Well, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying because it looks like a lot of his other movies outside of that are focused on the Asian culture. Like it looks like Horseman, Mortal Kombat. So that's kind of cool.
You do what you know. But anyways, they because they end up like San Francisco. They have like the ship that's got the nuke on it now. Like they move the nuke to the ship, and they're like it's going through the San Francisco harbor, and they're evacuating people. Some people are just going into shelters, but then they get like attacked because the Muto's like. There's an amazing scene where like you just start seeing like you see the power go out on the bridge for a second, and then you look up and you just see plane fall, just out of the sky, and then you see the flying Muto dive into the ocean, and then just come up out and like destroy a ship, and it's like this is incredible.
I don't even know. It's a choreography or just...
It would be writing. It would be, I feel
the writing of the actions. The action scenes in this.
Superb.
Were fun.
Because you get the bridge scene on the San Francisco Bridge, which makes me... It feels very similar to the opening to Pacific Rim with the Kaiju destroying that bridge.
I'm pretty sure that's where they probably started getting their bank. They probably already had it, but took one look at Pacific Rim and were like...
Yeah, we're doing that.
We're going to do something like that. Which, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But, I mean, the military starts shooting at Godzilla, even though he's literally, like... Like, at one point, he stops the missiles from hitting a school bus. Like, him getting in the way of it stops
purposefully,
it.
not just coincidentally.
Yeah. You get the idea that he was protecting
He's very
people.
Self-aware. Kind of, and the funniest thing is I love how, and it does have a deeper meaning, but I love how these movies, specifically all three thus far, have really focused on the fact of, okay, what you consider an animal is still very smart and self-aware.
Exactly. Because their initial plan is they're going to lure them off the coast, and then it'll blow up. But they turn the bomb on manually, and then one of the Mutos steals it, because they're going to feed off of the energy. But he brings it, into the center of San Francisco. So now the mission is, we have to get people...
Out of San Francisco.
Well, we can't even get them out of San Francisco anymore, because the female Muto and the male Muto meet up, and it's kind of sweet, but it's also, they're monsters. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
It's nice to see mates coming together, but at the same time, it's it's like, but you're about to cause catastrophic destruction.
Deduction? You're about to cause catastrophic deduction. What are you talking
Catastrophic destruction.
Yeah. But you're sweet. No, so they're like, all right, here's the plan. We need to defuse the bomb, which, okay, here's an issue I have. Another issue. Last one.
Here's the issue I have after 4 other ones.
Three. Don't misquote. They primed the bomb before the Mutos take it, and it's on an 1.5 hour long timer. But then, when they find it later, they're like, we have 26 minutes left. And it's like, you're telling me you made the plan, executed the plan, and found the bomb, and the time between you finding the bomb, doing all that, and the bomb being taken was a little over an hour? The sun's down. I call BS.
Haven't you always loved that about a lot of movies?
Yeah.
Though? It's like, so you're telling me you did all of this, just in an hour?
Yeah. Because it's like, I don't have an issue with all this, stuff happening and then them getting to it. I have an issue with the time it took. Okay? Just change the clock when they prep it to, 6 hours or something. You know what I mean? A plausible time. Because their plan is they're going to halo jump because of the location of the EMP that the Muto set off. They have to, fly a plane into the atmosphere, almost. Or, above it. And, jump from there down to the city. Past the monsters. And it's you're telling me they thought of this plan, got the resources to execute said plan, made the plan perfect, and did the plan in an hour?
Yeah.
That is an efficient military for people who've made very stupid choices so far.
Well, yeah, when you can't even tell that your freaking men are dying, and that's somehow you came up with this elaborate plan. And
you can't even see that a giant monster has escaped.
I know what a lot of people are going to say. Well, it's just the movie, but again...
We listen, people. We understand it's just a movie and it's all fantasy, and the casual viewer is not going to notice these things. But this is why you're listening to us. We've seen so many movies that we can't help but analyze everything. And that's just how we do it.
And you all know I'm a film student, so yeah. I'm doing this to make movies as well.
He's a film student. I'm also here.
Who helps me with some of my movies.
Yeah, exactly.
But, that's one of the things that you guys need to understand. If you're going to put the science effort into explaining how Godzilla came...
If you're doing a sci-fi movie...
Yeah, if your whole plot is revolving around real science and then exaggerating it with a theorem of said different events and catastrophic disasters, then you need to have the basic stuff that you would see in a basic military movie, which is not having a bunch of idiots running the military.
Exactly.
It's not believable. It's not real.
No,
it is not.
It is not real. No. So anyway, why are we Arnold?
Oh, hey, Mark.
Why are we? Why are we Tommy Wiseau? I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Yeah, I do that voice too well, I've found. But anyways. So, and then Serizawa has the great moment of like, they're like, what should we do, Dr. Serizawa? And he goes, the ignorance of man is thinking that nature is in our control and not the other way around. Let them fight. And it's like, yeah, it's what he's been telling you to do this whole time.
As if you really had a choice.
Exactly. Like, no, you can plan all the livelong day, but at the end of the day, what happens is really just up to Godzilla. Because Godzilla's fighting both of them. He doesn't do the best job, because think about it. Like, he's fighting one monster that's about his size, has more limbs than him, and he's also fighting one that, like, is faster and, like, is airborne. So it's, like, attacking at his back and all this stuff, you know?
Right.
And he's old. He's older. They said he's older than man. Like, of course he's having of course he's having difficulties.
He's an old man. Like, come on.
He really is.
Give the guy a break.
He really is. So, yeah, they do the halo jump, and they find the bomb, and it's like, the bomb's, like, nuclear energy is being taken to, like, it's for the hatchlings, essentially. Like, they're feeding off of it. And they find out that they can't defuse the bomb. So the second plan is to take the bomb to a boat and sail the boat offshore. So they start moving it, and then for a second when I saw this movie, because you see the little hatchlings, like, and there's a buttload of them, you see them kind of moving around in there. So for a second I thought, like, oh no, are we gonna get 1990? Are we gonna get the Godzilla with Matthew Broderick, where they fight Godzilla's babies?
Because part of me talk about that.
We have to. Part of me was like, that could be really cool into this guy's, but Brody gets the idea to like just pour gasoline, and blows up the hive. To which I'm like, again, how is he the only military personnel who thought, hey, maybe we do this so we don't have an army of these things? What? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it blows up, and it's right... He does it at the perfect time, because it's right about when Godzilla's going to get killed by the female Muto, and she notices that all her babies are dead. And she sees Brody... Ford, god damn it, Noah. No, you had to say his last name for me, didn't you? And the listeners. No, it's right as she's, like, about to eat Ford... We see it. No, do you want to describe what we see? Because I'm just too happy.
I believe it's the first... Don't we get the first?
His spines start to glow blue.
Yeah, Godzilla, we get this epic shot, and we get the rev up of his epic tip. And then he grabs the Muto.
No, he doesn't do that. That's the end.
Okay.
He just shoots it with it, but he, like...
But there's like
slowly, spine by spine... his
dorsal fin by dorsal fin, and
his
then
back is getting a blue glow.
And then the build-up sound for this was so much better than the originals, I would say. It really gave you the suspense of, like... It's that natural suspense every time you hear it, but it's like, how powerful is this one going to be?
Exactly. Because I don't know how. When I saw it in 2014, I totally forgot that him breathing nuclear breath was a thing. So when I saw the lights, I was like, what is...
But
They're not. And then he, bam! And I'm like, oh my god! Like, this is amazing!
But I think the best part is it was meant for you to forget. Because that was supposed to be the power of knowing... Of knowing that... I think that was supposed to be the reason, because of the fact of... He really didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, this is a new Godzilla... We want you to forget everything you know so we can reintroduce it to you.
Yeah.
In a mass quantity. Because if you really think about it, I mean, we get that very cringy shot in the original where he runs and jumps and his tail slides across the ground. He's just like, wee!
Is that in the original? I didn't think it was in the first,
No, it's
one.
It's like the original Toho
series.
Yeah. The original Godzilla movies. There's one scene where he runs and he jumps and he just flies. And
you folks ever heard of a little movie called Final Wars?
Was it Final Wars?
Final Wars, he straight up does martial arts, like, midair, like, kicking, and it's like, what is happening?
There's a couple of Godzilla movies where I swear they were high, because he starts doing kung fu moves.
Yeah!
And his eyes...
He's wax-on and wax-offing.
But he doesn't even look like a monster at that point. He looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
And it takes you out of it, but it's
great.
Godzilla.
It's great, you know what I mean? Like, it's not... Like, the first Godzilla is meant to be taken seriously, absolutely, but after that, it's kind of like...
Some of it
you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then some of it's like, oh man, that got dark. And then some of them are like, what the hell?
Because Final Wars is literally just fight scenes. That's all it is. There's barely a story.
It's like the entire Gamera reboot trilogy.
Yeah.
I think, wouldn't you say?
I don't know.
Seemed very
I haven't checked it in a while.
From what I remember.
Yeah. But, yeah, he uses the nuclear breath and hits the Muto with it, and then, like, that Muto, the female Muto starts chasing the, like, military guys because she knows that they have the warhead. And the male one starts fighting Godzilla, and Godzilla's, like, shooting at it with the nuclear breath, but kind of missing. But then there's a great shot when, like, there's a great bit where the male Muto, like, circles Godzilla and is flying around, and Godzilla just... whack with the tail, crushes it like into a building. And it's like, have you guys ever hit a fly with a swatter? It's like that,
except the thing actually goes flying.
Yeah. And then, like, as it's on the ground, for good measure, Godzilla just like just breathes on it.
It reminds me kind of like Bane in Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
When he picks up Batman, he's just like, and then Simon on the ground gets right up in his face and just goes, duh!
Yeah, exactly.
And Batman's just sitting there like, dude, brush your teeth.
Yeah, seriously. But so then the female Muto, she's killing literally all the soldiers. Ford gets on the boat, sets it to auto, and is like, all right, this is it. The boat's gonna sail off, and I'm gonna die with it. But then he sees the female Muto, and he just pulls out his pistol and points it at it, which is more... He knows it's not going to kill it, but it's a defiance thing. Like, fuck you.
Like, at least I'm going to die by trying.
Yeah. And, like, as it's about to bite him, you see just the hands of Godzilla grab it and hold open its jaw and just... breathes its nuclear breath into it.
That's the best part, though.
It's so amazing, because you see the breath, like, come out of the neck, and then he just pulls the head out.
Yeah, the rest of the body just...
Yeah.
But the best part is when he holds it open,
he holds the jaws open and breathes down its throat.
But not just that.
It's so vicious.
It builds up, and then there's just a moment of silence, and then you just hear go...
Yeah. It's just like... That's like... He did a Mortal Kombat finisher on it.
It was like
it was incredible.
Finisher!
Exactly. And then he, like, does one last roar... and falls down. It just passes out on San Francisco Bay.
I think a lot of people who have need to have some fun have done that.
Yeah. Well, and then the bomb gets defused, so there's, like, not even an explosion, I don't think. And then he finds his wife and his son, who were, like, hiding out in, like, bunkers. Yeah. We don't mention the wife that much because it doesn't really focus on her that much. We kind of just see her distressing and, like, figuring out how to keep her son safe. But she's like... Elizabeth Olsen doesn't get that much screen time.
No.
Which is a bummer, but I also understand it.
Yeah, and I'm glad, like, in a sense, it's kind of like... I don't know.
It's a monster movie. We don't need to see what's happening with the wife, you know? Like, I know how that kind of sounds, but you know what I mean?
Well, she's not the main focus.
No, the main focus is Ford.
I mean, it would be different. Like, if the roles were reversed...
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to see what Ford is up to.
Exactly. If she was the military person and she was getting her
dad, the
dad,
husband's doing. Like, okay, you're taking care of a kid. Great. What? Let's focus more on the monsters.
I'm just saying, it seems weird to cast such a prominent actress.
Well, let's be honest. There's a couple of even 19 and 80s movies
where they cast people in nothing roles.
And 80s with nothing
to
show for it.
That's true. I was watching Career Opportunities the other day. John Candy's in that movie so little he's not even credited. But he's in a scene.
Yeah, there was a couple, I think a John Goodman movie. And And I think there's even a couple Samuel Jackson movies out there where it's like, what the hell is the point in bringing him aboard?
Samuel Jackson in is it Goodfellas?
I haven't seen it yet, but I would imagine that probably.
It's either Goodfellas or Casino. He gets killed, and that's about it. You don't even see the front of his face that much. But then, they get reunited. People are surveying like Godzilla's corpse, and then you just he breathes, opens his eyes, stands up, gives one last roar, and then just goes into the ocean again. Like, oh well, whatever.
Which, I mean, is very Godzilla. He's just kind of like, I did my job.
Yep. Now
I've earned my rest.
Killed the monsters.
Follow me,
go.
and I will kick your ass.
Exactly.
As you see that and I'm pretty sure it was also a dominance thing, like when he took out that last Muto, as in, just remember.
Don't F with me. Remember what you see here today.
This is what I can do, and that's just a fraction of my power. Ever shoot at me again when I'm trying to protect you, and I will obliterate all of you one by one.
Exactly. But it's just like, it's nuts. Because, yeah. It reminds, Godzilla in these movies, they're kind of like Hank Pym in the beginning of Ant-Man, what Howard Stark says about him. Hank Pym's not a security threat unless we make him one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But that's the 2014 Godzilla.
Very good. It was directed by Gareth Edwards, which is always a treat because Gareth Edwards, like we said, did Rogue One, and I'm trying to think of what else he's done. I jumped it up here. He's only 45. Oh, he did Monsters. So he's had a couple of kind of monster movie experiences. He did Monsters and Monsters Dark Containment.
Monsters. I'm trying to remember what those movies are.
They're about the...
Oh, those, yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't... Wow, he really hasn't done anything noteworthy in terms of...
Prominent.
Yeah,
he
public
should do
eye.
more stuff.
But I'm sure if you go on his IMDb page, where I'm not going to look at it, but IMDb is a little creepy.
Especially since,
I'm going to say IMDb is a little creepy. It gives you the exact thing of everything. Like his star sign is a Gemini.
Yeah, I mean, if you know the birthday, you might as well.
His height is 5'7.5", 1.7.
I can't wait to say that to a doctor. Like, what's your height and your weight? Check my IMDb. I don't know. Look,
that I just feel like that's creepy though too, because it's kind of like, okay.
You know what I mean? You're in that kind of business where you're in the public eye. You know.
I mean,
if you have an issue with all your stuff being everywhere, then don't do it. You know.
I feel like I just like find it weird that somebody becomes that obsessed to analyze me.
Oh, it'll happen, buddy.
I mean, it'll
happen, baby.
It's better than what I think of when I think of how many people have action figures out there and what people do to them when they're obsessed with them.
So this has been Film Nerds Hour. Thanks, Noah, for ending the 2014 Godzilla episode on that.
You're welcome, because that is what I fear. But anyway,
did you guys enjoy the movie? Let us know what you think. On our Instagram, our Facebook.
Yeah, go to our Instagram, which is Nerds Hour. Our Facebook group, which is also called Nerds Hour, under that. And then listen on Spotify or Anchor or YouTube. And like we say every episode, no offense, Mr. Creepypasta, but if you haven't listened on any of these, please tell people it's not supposed to be there. Most likely, depending on what
we will announce when we're on other platforms. So look at our page before you blow the whistle.
Yeah. So otherwise, thank you for tuning into this telepathic broadcast or silently watching us in our recording space through a camera.
Yeah.
Which you're weird.
Yeah. I mean, whatever floats your strange boat, as long as it's floating.
I am a sexually chocolate person, so I understand. Anyway.
You guys can't physically see the look I'm giving him after that line.
And you can't see the bright smile on my face.
They can hear it. They can hear it.
Good.
He's Noah Sweeta.
And he's Nathaniel Shoemaker. And
tune in next week for Kong Skull Island.
With Tom Hiddleston, John Goodman, just to give you a little taste of it.
And Samuel motherfucking Jackson.
Ooh, Larson.
I swore. Oh. We should stop it so my Christian parents don't hear. Bye, everybody.
Bye.